Alright, Biblical DNA here, Ashkenazim Genetics, Episode 2. Had to do this video pre-recorded, so no live stream for this one. I'm going through Hurricane Ian. We're starting off with the Haplogroups. Hopefully you learn a lot. Thank you for clicking on this video, and enjoy the show. Starting off with the Haplogroups. So for the first one, we see Haplogroup E-BY6357* with a maternal DNA of U5A1A1. This is a Western Scythian, and that's 2,225 years from present. Alright, second one, we got E-PF6747 with a maternal DNA of U5A2 plus 16294. Alright, this is a Scythian, Sarmatian, Southern Urals in Russia, 2,254 years from present. Alright, we have a Y-DNA of G-BY200659, maternal DNA of H7A1. Alright, it's a Hungarian Scythian, 2,441 years ago. Alright, this one's a Western Scythian, Moldova. Y-DNA of I-Y7219*, the maternal DNA of U5B2A3, 2,237 years. Alright, so this one is Y chromosome Y-Z7700, or also known as J2A, with a maternal DNA of T2B, Ukrainian Scythian. Alright, this is Iron Age, pre-Scythian. So you see what this one belonged to. It's not a Scythian. Even if it was absorbed by the culture, like Scythian culture, so be it. Alright, so part of the Scythian Ukrainian culture, we have Y-DNA Q-L332 and maternal DNA of X4. That's 2,515 years ago. Alright, Western Scythian, 2,568 years ago. Y-DNA of R-L2, maternal DNA of J2B1A6. Alright, Y-DNA R-FGC14598, maternal DNA of U4*, Western Scythian, 2,213 years ago. Y-DNA R-6 or R-S19901*, maternal DNA of U5A2B. Western Scythian, 2,254 years. Alright, so now you're going to see the most predominant haplogroup amongst the Scythian culture, the Ashkenazim. Alright, so this is Scythian Ukraine, 2,593 years. Alright, its Y-DNA is R-M198, which is R1A. Maternal DNA is H6A1B. And you see right below it, it's a Sarmatian, and you know that they were related. So look at that, R-M198 with maternal DNA of U2E1H. And the one below that too. Only difference, maternal DNA is T1A1. Alright, so Scythian Sarmatian, Y-DNA of R-PF61S2, maternal DNA of T1A1D, 2,604 years ago from present. Y-DNA of R-PF6162, maternal DNA of T1A1. Alright, go down. So you see that, the most haplogroup amongst the Ashkenazim would be the R1A paternal haplogroup, and it changes from the maternal DNA of T1A1, as we can see. So you have the H's amongst the Scythian culture, then you have the U's. But we see that Y chromosome is majority R1A. You can find all this information on hoblotree.info. Maps, ancient DNA. Look at all these Ashkenazim samples. It's just insane how they have more maternal DNAs than they do Y DNAs samples. Alright, so we have the Saka. So this one we have a Y-DNA of E-FT167798 asterisk with a maternal DNA of U7A4 that was found in Zakistan 2,631 years ago. All right, we have 3 J2As, J-FT239559 asterisk. All right, maternal DNAs. 2 is found with D4J8. 1's found with W1C. And these are 2,931 or 93, 2,072, and 2,060. Saka. These are found in Kyrgyzstan. All right, we have another Kyrgyzstan with the Y-DNA of Q-BZ366 asterisk, maternal DNA of C4. All right. We have Y-DNA R-M173, so that's R1, maternal DNA of U591A1. All right, so we're going to see the most predominant haplogroup again amongst the Saka. And remember, the Saka and Scythians, they were related. It's the same people. So we see the maternal DNA is R-M417, so that's R1A. Maternal DNA is J1B1A1E. All right, the second one, R-M417, and maternal DNA is G2A1. All right, R-Z93, maternal DNA of H4D. This is Kyrgyzstan. Kazakhstan, Y-DNA of R-Z94, and maternal DNA of C4D. So we can see the most predominant haplogroup amongst the Saka is definitely Y-DNA R1A. All right. Okay, so we have Iran Talks charts that I'll put his videos in the description. He has a few on the Scythians, and as we can see, the Scythian Hungary samples have 67.9 Proto-Indo-Iranian, with early European farmer of 32.1%. The Scythian Moldova we see has a 42.1% for Proto-Indo-Iranian and 39.7% for early European farmer. Scythian Moldova outlier has a Proto-Indo-Iranian 84.8% and 15.2% for early European farmer. Scythian Ukraine has a 74.2% for Proto-Indo-Iranian, 12.5% early European farmer, 5.5% Proto-Turkic, 4.4% Caucasus hunter-gatherer, ancient Indus Valley 1.7%, and 1.7% for the Arabian hunter-gatherer. Alright, in our first paper we have genetic analysis of a Scythio-Siberian skeleton and its implications for ancient Central Asian migrations. Alright, it's published by Wayne State University Press. We see the authors right there. Alright, it says the Scythians 700 BC to 200 AD were one of the most famous nomadic populations living in the Eurasian steppe zone. The Scythio-Siberian group, localized in southern Siberia, composed the eastern extremity of this population. It says this result is also supported by the haplotype network, which shows the relationship between the ancient Scythio-Siberian haplotype and haplotypes belonging to 3 Indian, Middle Eastern, and Eastern European white populations. So this indicates that 2,500 years ago, the Scythio-Siberian population in Alta was of mixed Eurasian origin. In the second article, we have ancestry and demography and descendants of Iron Age nomads of the Eurasian steppe. We see the authors. Alright, he says Greek and Persian historians of the first millennium BCE chronicled the existence of the Sakati and the Sarmatians, and later the Sarmatians and the Sakai, cultures possessing artifacts similar to those found in classical Scythian monuments, such as weapons, horse harnesses, and a distinctive animal style artistic tradition. Accordingly, these groups are often assigned to the Scythian culture and referred to as the Scythians, also known as Ashkenazim. For simplification, we will use Scythian in the following text for all groups of Iron Age steppe nomads and commonly associated with the Scythian culture. Alright, so the northern Black Sea steppe was originally considered the homeland and center of the Scythians until Terezin formulated the hypothesis of the Central Asian origin. Alright, so interesting how the Scythian is supposed to look like, the Ashkenazi. So you see the ribbon of blue on the borders of his garments, even on his sleeve, with the fringes underneath it. Alright. So it says, importantly, our simulations support a continuous gene flow between the Iron Age Scythian groups with indications of asymmetrical gene flow from Western to Eastern groups rather than the reverse. Our genetic diversity and ancestry of the Scythian groups, haplogroups found in the Iron Age nomads, are predominant in modern populations in both West, HV, N1, J, T, U, K, W, I, X, and East Eurasia, A, C, D, F, G, M, Y, Z. Alright, it says the Eastern Scythians display nearly equal proportions of mtDNA lineages common in East and West Eurasia, whereas in the Western Scythian groups, the frequency of lineages now common in East Eurasia is generally lower, even reaching 0 and 4 samples of the initial Scythian phase of the 8th to 6th century BCE and reaches 18 to 26% during the later periods. So interesting with this chart is says candidate scenarios for the origin of the Scythian populations, but the only one I can see that would represent the Scythians would be the Sarmatian of the Iron Age, and we see that it's clustered with central what is that, central LNBA. So Caucasus hunter-gatherer. Alright. The Iron Age Scythians are arrayed along a cline from Yemeniya to Ami, a population of East Asian ancestry that experienced no admixture, constant with having ancestry from populations genetically similar to these two groups. Again, we have the Sarmatians, so I don't know what else population they would be going off of, but I see the Sarmatians, and we see, if you look in the center going up under West Eurasians, you see the black squares. So that's the groups they would be associated with. Looking at a Caucasus hunter-gatherer in Central. All right. Descendants of the Iron Age Scythians suggest that the ancient Scythian populations from the eastern and western part of the Eurasian steppe are genetically closer to each other than are the modern populations of the respective regions. All right, again, we see the summation with the red arrows. So it says red arrows point to the Iron Age Scythian individual study. So we see that majority of them have a Caucasus hunter-gatherer. So all of them have a Caucasus hunter-gatherer. This first one, though, this early, we see this Western hunter-gatherer as the highest admix, and the other three have they all have it, but what is the one? Yeah. All right. For Western Scythian era samples, contemporary populations with high statistical support for a genealogical link are located mainly in the close geographical proximity, whereas contemporary groups with high statistical support for descent from Eastern Scythians are distributed over a wider geographical range. Okay, so we see whereas populations with genetic similarities to Eastern Scythian groups are found almost exclusively among Turkic language speakers. So, but this one right here, here we go. The ancestral alloys at ADH1B RS 3811801 and RS 1229984 are nearly fixed in the Scythian dataset as they are in modern Europeans derived allies, which confer some resistance to alcoholism are under selection in East Asians. So discussion. The Iron Age groups, long believed to be connected through shared cultural artifacts associated with the classical Scythians of the North Pontic region, also share a genetic connection. Says Yemeniya culture was formed on the European steppe and exported into Central Asia and Siberia. All of our analysts support the hypothesis that the genetic composition of the Scythians can best be described as a mixture of Yemeniya-related ancestry and East Asian, North Siberian elements. Concerning the legacy of the Iron Age nomads, we find that modern human populations with a close genetic relationship to the Scythian groups are predominantly located in close geographic proximity to the sampled burial sites, suggesting a degree of population continuity through historical times. The contemporary descendants of Western Scythian groups are found among various groups in the Caucasus and Central Asia, while similarities to Eastern Scythian are found to be more widespread. Third article is Ancient Genome suggests the Eastern Pontic Caspian steppe as the source of Western Iron Age nomads. Get the authors right there. This paper was published in 2018. From around 1000 BCE, pre-Scythian nomadic populations started to appear in the western Pontic Caspian steppe, including the Cimmerians, known from historical sources. In the 7th century BCE, they were succeeded by the Scythians, who plausibly pushed the Cimmerians into Asia Minor. All right, between 700 and 300 BCE, the Scythians representing mobile pastoral nomads of a new militaristic type. The Sarmatians and the Scythians are thought to have coexisted for a few centuries, but eventually the former group prevailed, resulting in the Scythian downfall. All right. Genetic analysis of maternal lineages of Scythians suggest a mixed origin and an east-west admixture gradient across the Eurasian steppe. The genomics of two early Scythian Alde Bel individuals show genetic affinities to eastern populations of Central Asia. All right, so this one we can see with the Scythians, who they were resembled, tightly clustered for what population. So we see the little blue triangles and see the northwest and central European populations close to them. It's like in the center of the Caucasus, Armenia, and Iran populations. It's right in the middle, so they definitely would have been admixture. All right, under genetic relationships between the Iron Age nomads and the other ancient populations, the chronologically youngest Cimmerian individual grouped within the SC, including all Sarmatians, one Sorabinei Alachasaya individual, and three Scythian individuals. All right. We tested whether Cimmerians formed a clade with the subsequent Iron Age populations, including Scythians and Sarmatians, to the exclusion of Bronze Age populations by calculating F4 statistics in the form of F4 Yoruba, Cimmerians, Surabne, and Scythians and Sarmatians Bronze Age population, showing that the Cimmerians showed more drift with the Bronze Age populations of Russia compared to the Surabnia. I'm not going to even say it, the ALA word, but not compared to Scythians or Sarmatians. All right. So here we have the admixtures that they tested with. I got the Scythian individuals all in the middle right here. So the majority of their DNA was West and North European hunter-gatherers and modern North European populations, Western hunter-gatherers. But you can see the admix of Neolithic and modern Near East populations. In the Caucasus, hunter-gatherers and modern South Asian population admix. You see the admix in them. Alright, fourth article, shifts in the genetic landscape of the Western Eurasian steppe associated with the beginning and end of the Scythian dominance. Alright, this is a 2019 article. It says craniometric evidence suggests a lack of continuity with the Bronze Age population, both in the steppe region, Scythians north of the Black Sea, and in carriers of the Scythian culture from the Ural Mountains of Altai and South Siberia, with the migrations from Central Asia cited as a possible explanation. Recently, studies of ancient Scythian genomes have affirmed the confederate nature of the Scythian tribes, showing them to be genetically distinct from one another but finding little or no support for large-scale east to west movements. Instead, generally suggesting separate local origins of various Scythian groups. It says the dominance of the Scythians and closely related Sarmatians on the Ponto-Caspian genetic landscape is still unclear. We aim to evaluate it by comparing ancient Scythians and Sarmatians to individuals from cultures preceding and succeeding them in the region. All right, this study's Scythian and Sarmatian samples did not overlap with any published Bronze Age samples from the Eurasian steppe, being clearly more eastern than a dense cluster of mostly middle-late Bronze Age populations from various studies at the edge of modern European variation. Results additionally demonstrating consistently higher affinity of Scythians and Sarmatians to Altians compared to Han, and in most cases also to Altians compared to Nganisans, and bearing in mind the putative Altian origin of Scythians that has been suggested numerous times. So we see the Scythian samples of Sarmatians and who they cluster with. It says the Scyth Ukraine were both closer to European early farmers than Uke Bronze Age, but Churn did not exhibit any difference from preceding Scythians. A comparison of Western and Eastern Scythians revealed them to be mainly influenced by their geographic differences. Scythians share more drift with most of the forest or steppe region Iron and Middle Age populations, and Scyths Uke had closer affinity to almost all ancient European populations included in our annals. Furthermore, Scyth-Uke were closer to modern Near Eastern populations and Scyth-Kaz to modern populations from Siberia and East Asia. Alright, so we see the comparison. And for those that don't believe that the Scythians had Neolithic Natufian DNA, this is the evidence. So that Neolithic Natufian DNA isn't limited to populations. As you can see, Scythian PC has majority of its DNA autosomal as Natufian, and we're going to see why at the bottom of in the supplementary material. We also see the Eastern hunter-gatherer and the Altians amongst their admixture. Alright, so if you scroll all the way down under the supplementary material, you can see the Haplogroups. Alright, supplementary information. Alright, we already saw that. Alright, so these are the admixture ones I want y'all to see right there. I got them highlighted. Alright, let's see if I can. Alright, so y'all can see it. So I want y'all to focus on these two Haplogroups because it's going to be important for the third video of the Ashkenazim and their association with the Jews or the Yahudim or the Yisraelites or Yarelites, whatever you want to call them. Alright, so simple MJ-40, we see that's the haplogroup it belongs to for the Y is going to be E2B1-PF6746, and maternally it's going to be U5A2 plus 16294. And we see that this individual belongs to Y-DNA EM34. Now the sample MJ-52 belongs to J1B-P58 for its Y chromosome. Very, very important. So those two are very important. And it carried a maternal DNA of A23. So these two are very important because not only the proof that these two individuals originally came from the Near East, but proof that there was a Yahudim admixture amongst the Scythians. Fifth article, we have the genetic echo of the Turim mummies in modern Central Asians. All right, this article was published in 2022. Alright, it says, in the Iron Age, the genetic component of Eastern nomads was found in the Central Steppe Scythians and Xinjiang populations. Given the steppe-related ancestry, e.g. Andronovo, existing in Scythian, i.e. Saka, the proposed linguistic and physical anthropological links between the Tajiks and the Scythians may be ascribed to their shared steppe-related ancestry. The sixth and final article, we have the supplementary materials for a genetic probe into the ancient and medieval history of Southern Europe and West Asia, published in 2022. So the Greek physician and philosopher Galen contrasts the thin, straight, light, red hair of an inhabitants of cold and damp regions, Illyrians, Germans, Dalmatians, Sarmatians, and all Scythians, with the thick, curly, black hair of warm and dry ones, Egyptians, Arabs, and Indians, and with the moderately dark hair of those of intermediate regions. Alright, so by examining simple phenotypes, we see that Southern Arc individuals have a lower frequency of light hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale skin compared to non-Southern Arc ones, a finding that is in agreement with the ancient sources that commented on the appearance of Celts, Germans, and Scythio-Sarmatians from Europe and Central Asia. Surveying the history of thought on human pigmentation differences, we can remark that the ancient writers of the classical world more or less accurately describe the average lighter pigmentation of populations of Central, Northern Europe and the Eurasian steppe, although they lacked the statistical vocabulary to express these in relative terms, and exaggerated what various ancient groups, such as the Celts or Scythians, looked like. Their theory that these differences were linked to climate was fundamentally flawed, as we know that people with quite different pigmentation lived in more or less similar conditions of, e.g., Central Europe at the time of the farmers, or the medieval period on the steppe in the early Bronze Age, or the time of the Scytho-Sarmatians with which they were familiar. Alright, we have the spreadsheet from science.abm4247 S5. Alright, so these are Scythians, and we see that they're Neolithic admixture, as majority of them belong to the Caucasus hunter-gatherer, with Eastern hunter-gatherer admixture, one really having close to 30% Levant pre-pottery Neolithic or Natufian DNA, and most of them having Northwest Turkish ancestry. That's in the F column. Turk, Marmara, Barkin, and so let's go ahead and look at these samples. Alright, so we see the first one, SCY 192 SG. We see that this individual had light color hair with blue eyes, no haplogroups, so it's more than likely a woman. The second one, 197, we see belongs to E1B1B, 1A, 1B1. So this is an EV13 individual. That's a EV13 SMP of E-Z1057. He had intermediate skin complexion, but there was no genome for the eye color or hair color. We have SCY301. He belonged to haplogroup I2, A1, B1, A2, A1B, also known as I-Y7219. We see he had intermediate skin color complexion. Alright, we have SCY304. This individual belonged to R1B, 1A, 1B, 1B, also known as R1 or R-Y16852. SCY305, we see belong to R1B, 1A, 1B, 1B3, also known as R-Z2106. And we have SCY193, belong to haplogroup P1. That's a new one for me. I normally don't hear that haplogroup at all. SCY303. This individual is a female. Skin pigmentation is intermediate, light color hair, brown eyes. All right, scroll up a little bit. We see that there were some Cimmerians samples. So Sim357 we see belongs to R1A, 1A1, also known as R-Z94. Sim385 or 358 belongs to Q1A1, Q-FZ46, and Sim359. This is more like a female. She has intermediate skin complexion, dark hair, very color black, and brown eyes. Alright, y'all, this has been Biblical DNA. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you liked about this video, what I can improve on. Like I said, I'm going through Hurricane Ian, so we'll see how it goes. We're supposed to have the storm surges, like the impact of the wind, coming shortly, starting at 2 p.m. So we'll see. But yeah, it should be fine. I'm prepared. No big deal. Been through many hurricanes in my life. It's all good. All right. Thanks for watching. Biblical DNA out.